If it makes you rest easier. Margaret's fire casts light in dark places.
"17 and a half. Well, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman. The people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway. Name's Adair. Though to the people around here, it might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved. The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta. I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. You never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first. Careful, friend. Best not use that word round here. Could be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come through these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be. Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense. The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war. We blew him up. Picked the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Aethys worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there, that was a temple to him, to give you some idea. Then one day, somebody named Widewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed it. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, and then I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Radric's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing. Seem to remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say Watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before. Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger, and a strange one at that. But, truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree. All right, then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. Long as you're not the one picking the sights. Hey. Oh, other than the war, I never strayed too far from where you found me. Farming, mostly. I was never much for cities. Never learned a trade. In my younger days, I thought I was going to go preach the word of Aethys, just in our temple there. My parents encouraged it. I made so much trouble for them growing up. They used to say it'd be best if I got in good with the God of Redemption. Of course, us blowing him up probably didn't help my chances there. But if anybody'd forgive you for blowing him up, it'd be Aethys. They, they did. It was strange timing, because we just won the war. They celebrated when I came home. There was music and dancing. Trumbull used half his grain making this big honey cake. I still dream about that cake. Like having the best lover of your life, but only for one night. And they were all sorry to hear about my brother. It took a while for word of the purges to reach us. Aethasians being murdered in the streets. Cold morn and the like. No way would they let something like that happen in Gilded Vale. That's what they all said. But the weeks went by and the purges spread. Pretty soon they weren't so sure my brother fought for Deerwood. And they weren't so sure I did. Caught me by surprise after all the celebrating. Should have seen it coming after the tailor said he was gonna fit me for some new clothes, but then all he wanted was my neck measurement. Nah, not that last part. But you had to think about it. Says a lot about the place I've been calling home all these years. Well, I'm sure my parents are still wondering the same thing. The Aethasian purges were like this madness had come over the town. Like a disease. Seems like when you see something like that, your instinct is to wait for it to pass, even when you know it probably won't. The family whose farm I worked on, they had a little hollow-born girl. And they heard the Animancers had this cure, the Salvation it was called. They went running. This Salvation, they were putting animal souls in children. You might have heard about it, giving them enough personality to care for themselves. You can guess how that turned out. Matter of time, the children broke down. Became wild things. Monsters. Anyway, these farmers put the family dog's soul in their little girl. For a while, the girl, she's making eye contact, she's feeding herself, albeit in a kind of messy way. And one day she snaps. They found her gnawing on her brother's bones. Had to chain her up, put her in a cow pen. Well, the mother, she wouldn't have anything to do with the girl after that. But the father, he'd visit every day, feed her chickens, toss water on her once in a while to get the dirt off. Most of the village, they'd whisper about him. Poor man, they'd say, sick with grief. He was just waiting for his daughter to look up one day and recognize her papa. He was waiting for her to get better. Didn't understand that at the time, of course, but these days I think about him a lot. What's on your mind? It makes two of us. If you're looking to find religion, maybe you want to start with a god that hasn't been burned to dust, but I won't stop you. Aethys, he was a young man with a silver crown. Carried a candle around with him. Sounds like I'm giving a bad eulogy here. In my way. I don't suppose he expects me to show up at his temple these days. Not much left to do for him other than keep his memory alive and keep hoping that he's just been playing a joke on all of us these past 15 years. Raised that way. My family's been Aethasian going way back. Suppose it wasn't much of a choice at first. Don't know for sure why my family started worshipping him. Probably because of Gon looking after folks like us. There was something I genuinely liked about Aethys. Always. Like he understood people better than the other gods. Knew all our flaws and weaknesses, and accepted us for that. Folks are at their worst when they're afraid. A god like Aethys, he made you realize there was nothing to fear. Made you a better person. Of course, he goes away for a few years, and look what happens. Was his actions. Not when he started his rebellion, and not even when he took over Raid Saris. It was when he sent his armies into Deerwood. You sure you don't want to talk about something more pleasant? Like the War of Black Trees or the Legacy or something? Hey. Hi?
Sure.
Yes?
Hey there.
Hi?
What? If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skinning your knuckles on the wrong door. The cost of troubling me seems to worry you little. That's a curse that runs deeper. It's a godhammer of a different sort. And like the godhammer, it was made by men's hands. There are fewer souls. There are more vessels. It is simply equaling of the process. I feel more remorse in putting down a slathering hound, a wict, less than a mongrel in its misery. Murder is a kindness, not a crime. Always has been. I would sooner put the blade to those who are to blame instead. If any spirit should be punished, it's theirs. Murder you? I would not grant you any of them. The mercy I grant the Hollowborn. You would not be deserving of it. Murder is an old word. Mercy is letting a soul fly free to the next body. True punishment? Ruining someone to their soul. Crack their spirit like you would crack their skulls with a staff. Beat them. Hurt them in mind and body. So their souls become shards. But you leave it inside the vessel, like a bag of glass, to either choke on it, or pass it through their bloody stool. Then, leave it in the body to think on it, like planting a new field with the right seed. Many marks may I make upon your flesh, but flame leaves marks that cannot heal. Magrin doctrine dictates true punishment is one that remains in memory, in the soul, in the flesh. Even should the victims die, slowly or swift, sometimes by their own hand afterwards, the lesson lingers, burned in their flesh. Have you seen a man branded by flame? He remembers it always, in every waking movement. It is a lesson writ in the only ink and vellum that matters: blood and flesh. One can burn the soul as well. It is an art, and I do not take pleasure in it. But there is more at stake here than forgiveness. Many of Aethys' faith were punished in the purges following the Saints' War. And the ones that harmed children, they suffered worse. We did what must be done. Wherever they were rooted out, their souls reclaimed. And if they couldn't be reclaimed, we ensured they would never inhabit another body. Aethys was the god of rebirth, and his light does not fall on the deer wood. I've heard some claim it's his doing, his death. It's closed the halls to new souls. I doubt it. The Hollowborn have their roots in the acts of men, women. I feel it. If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skinning your knuckles on the wrong door. What? If doubts and curiosity...
Welcome.
You don't want what I have, Watcher. Some flames spread easier. If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skinning your knuckles. Wasn't a war. It was a god stepping past himself. The country of Raed Saris and all their heathens. They're paying for it now. Although by my count, the fire should have roared through their country with more force, catching all their souls. Truth, it wasn't even a war. It was a cautionary tale about pride. Specifically, Widewind's pride. He should have stayed a farmer. Gods have taken flesh, in all respects, taking willing and unwilling vessels. It's not a violation, it's what gods do, as long as they accept all that comes with it. Men are weak. Gods? Well, we showed old Widewen that he was flesh and blood, no matter how much light was pouring out of his farmer's hands. Took men of faith to build a weapon, a godhammer. Judgment. Proved him dead at Halgot Citadel. We poured the God Hammer into its foundations with faith. Set it alight. Let the hammer fall upwards onto the anvil. 8 died before the God Hammer fell, and the God Hammer claimed the remainder, 12 in all. We started saving the Aothasians from themselves, burning any that didn't die with their god. Heresy in Rayed Ceres is one thing. Heresy here in the Deerwood comes with a more personal touch. As I see it, every Aothasian who still lives in the Deerwood puts the nation at risk, is another dagger held to the throat of our faith. Root them out, burn them, or send them back to Rayed Ceres to wallow in the blood of their failure.
Welcome.
If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skinning your knuckles on the wrong door. I suspect the answers will seed more questions. She's a goddess, as fickle as they come, and with all the failings you'd expect of an empress and a whore. Too many eyes, too many wants, too much to hold on to. That's the failing of a god. More aspects than words to describe her, like most of them. A god with many nations to oversee, only serves to spread herself too thin. Some, shaped for hunt and war, Abidan the Golem, Galawain and his beasts. The latter keeps us honest and awake. The other makes the tools by which we punish those who are not.
Hello.
If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skinning your knuckles on the wrong. Some, shaped for hunt and war, Abidan the Golem. Before, when you asked about ally, I suspect the answers will seed more questions. Where I hail from? From one of Margren's fires. A cathedral, ashfall, made of blackened trees. I studied the scriptures there, the fires carved into the land, the trunks of the burnt trees, and in the factories where the rifles and cartridges were shaped. All are chapels in other devotions.
Sure.
Hail and well met.
What? If doubts and curiosity plague you, this, in a way, this is more of what's left behind when flame strikes. If Ashfall is a cathedral propped up and fenced with such sticks, then this stick, well, this is what props me up as I walk the cathedral of my road, to other Ashfalls waiting to be made, perhaps. The wood is taken from the War of Black Trees. Sturdy. It served me well on my travels, been a boon companion.
Welcome.
If doubts and curiosity... Tales. Reminders. Something to think upon. Devotions I can wrap my mind around when chanting words becomes tiresome. Chants lose their strength, but carving symbols into the wood with one's finger, blessed by fire. I find symbols are a greater source of devotion than words, texts. If there were many texts to be had. Texts remind me of a deer, the perfume of aristocracy. The War of Black Trees and this staff I carry are the only hymns and devotions I need. And it's a symbol, one that the faithful and faithless alike understand.
Hello.
You don't want what I have, Watcher. If doubts and curiosity spread easier than others. You still see them. Not all can. But then again, few have a Watcher's gift of sight. Carved? This staff is a history. Acts leave their mark. Some symbols fall into the ash, others blaze brighter. Memory, meaning. It's same as the memories in your head, perhaps more trustworthy. Random acts, things done with instinct. They may make lines burning briefly through the wood. Acts devised, planned, that stay with you. Symbols form and tell the story. It's like all memories, except the staff burns it true. When a thought's close, you see it clearer, brighter. Ones you forget, they get buried. But like rings in wood, the etchings remain. Keeps me grounded. Also, it's a solid walking stick. I suspect the answers will seed more questions.
Yes?
All right, then.
What?